どうも、勝手に電力2.0で発表されると思います。今日は1160回目ということで、このグリーンハウスガスプロトコルで、GHG のプロトコルってところが、いろいろ改定とかされていくので、このあたりを少し説明したいなと思っています。グリーンハウスガスプロトコル、a detailed summary of responses from Scope 2 guidance stakeholder survey。スコープ2サーベイサマリーの文章は、GHG プロトコルのスコープ2ガイダンスに関する理解関係者のフィードバックを包括的に解説していると。このガイダンスは2015年初めて公開され、購入した電気、蒸気、熱、冷却からの間接排出に関して二次報告を要求する。これには、ロケーションベースとマーケットベースの2つの異なる方が使用されると。ロケーションベースでは、組織が運営するグリッドの平均排出強度に用いて排出量を割り当てるのに対し、マーケットベースは特定の組織のその電力公認決定に用いて排出量が割り当てる。まさにロケーション基準とマーケット基準というやつですけども、実際にこの GHG 会計の重要な発展、新しい気候開示規制の導入、ネットゼロ目標の採用の急増を受けて、GHG プロトコルは2020年にスコープ2ガイダンスの更新を発したと。この目的は、カーブに基づくネットゼロ目標を実施するために、主要な規制及び自発的解除及び目標設定のプログラムとの調和を図ると。で、GC プロトコルはスコープ2ガイダンスに関する利害関係者のフィードバックを収集するために2021年11月から2023年3月にかけてオンライン調査を実施と。この調査は GH プロトコル基準の更新に関する4つの調査のうちの1つで、400以上の回答、70以上の詳細な提案を受け取ったということですね。で、実際1位。GH プロトコルの変更、GH プロトコルの変更をスコープ1と2の一つの文章に統合し進化する GH 管理及び行動エコシステムを追いつくための定期的な更新プロセスを採用することが提案と。で、開示プロトコルの、開示プログラムの整合性と、回答者は GH プロトコルはサイエンスベースの目標設定イニシアティブや、公開示関連の規制的義務など、自発的及び規制的な開示プログラムと緊密に調整することがあると強調と。3、スコープ2報告の目的の見直し。現在の目的の適切さ、実践の達成状況、GH プロトコルの進化する役割と成功させるための今後の修正に関するフィードバックが集まると。二次報告要件の更新。ここら辺ですね。二次報告要件の有用性、適切性、実施方法、全体的な経過について様々な視点からフィードバックがあると。一部の回答者はロケーションベース及びまたはマーケットベースの方に様々な変更を加え、二次報告を維持することを推奨と。が、他の回答者は2つのこの1つだけを必要することを提案と。詳細な時間及び場所の基準。詳細な基準の必要性に関して提案があった。これは GH インベントリーで使用された排出削減が実際の待機 GH 排出削減と密接にして相関することを保証するため、しかし、これらの特定の実施の難しさから実用性に関する懸念も表明と、基準の柔軟性、柔軟な解釈を支持する回答者はあらゆる規模、成熟と地域の組織に関して実行可能な会計基準のクリーンエネルギー調達の機会の必要性を強調と。7、新しい排出影響ベースの報告アプローチ、クリーンエネルギーの購入による排出削減効果を示すための新しいアプローチへの移行及び追加が提案と、これによってプロジェクトベースの会計と平均グリッドケースではなく、限界排出ケースを使用することが含まれると、追加性の基準の要求。行動がその行動でなければ発生しなかったである排出削減が持てる必要がある追加性の概念が議論と。追加性をインパクトベースの主張にのみ提供することが提案されたと。で、明確化と新ガイダンスの追加と。回答者は具体的な使用例、新技術、データなど、明確化の新ガイダンスの追加に様々な提案を行った次のステップとして GH プロトコルはスコープ2の更新のための具体的な作業計画の開発に取り組み、新しい研究を引き続きレビューし、基準の更新プロセスを解読する新しいガバナンスコードの最終決定を行うという、ちょっと何やら難しい感じでチャット GPT はやってますと。で、これ、エグゼクティブサマリーですね。Background on Scope 2 Guidance, the Greenhouse Effect Protocol Scope 2 Guidance published in 2015 requires dual reporting of indirect emissions from purchased electricity, steam, heat, and cooling using two distinct methods, local-based and market-based reporting. The location-based method assigns emissions based on the average emission intensity of the grid in which an organization operates, while the market-based method allocates emissions based on the specific electricity purchase decision an organization makes. These methods were designed to meet the objectives of the GHG Protocol Corporate Standard and Scope 2 guidance, which are to help companies accurately report their value chain GHG emission by using standardized approaches, reduce the cost associated with complying GHG inventory, provide information for effective emission management strategies, facilitate participation in GHG programs, promote consistency and transparency in accounting, understand risks and opportunities related to electricity consumption, identify internal reduction opportunities, and track performance, engage energy suppliers and partners in GHG management, and enhance stakeholder information and corporate reputation through transparent reporting. Updating Scope 2 guidance. Since its publication, the Scope 2 guidance has been used by thousands of organizations and there have been many important developments in GHG accounting. These include new regulations which mandate climate-related disclosure, a steep increase in the adoption of net zero targets, and research on the use of impact and guidance and standards. To ensure the GHG protocol continues to effectively support and enable these developments, the GHG protocol began a formalized process in 2022 to update the Scope 2 guidance. This process, the next step of which outlined below, is guided by the principle of providing robust GHG accounting standard and guidance for organizations to measure progress toward science-based net zero targeted aligned with the global 1.5 system goal. In addition, a key goal of the update is to harmonize and align with accounting rules developed by major regulatory and voluntary disclosure and target setting programs and initiatives. Scope to guidance survey background. Following discussion with over 1,000 stakeholders about the effectiveness and appropriateness of the current Scope 2 guidance as well as proposed alternative accounting methods, the GHG Protocol Secretariat solicited written feedback through an online survey between November 2022 and March 2023. This survey was one of four conducted to gather feedback on various options for updating or maintaining the current suite of GHG Protocol corporate standards and guidance. The Scope 2 survey received over 40 responses in addition to roughly 70 detailed proposals from stakeholders explaining whether they wanted the standard changed and why. Survey respondents include businesses, academia, nonprofits, industry groups, the power sector, and government institutions, among others. Scope 2 survey summary. This draft Scope 2 survey summary report provides an overview of responses from all survey respondents and highlights common themes. This summary will be used to inform further stakeholder discussions around key revisions to the Scope 2 guidance and related GHG protocol standards. Responses range from suggestions of minor edits and/or additional guidance to major revisions. Some feedbacks also include critiques of potential new Scope 2 accounting requirements or alternative methodologies popularized in concept after the publication of the original Scope 2 guidance. The following summarize major points of feedback from the survey. Modify the structure of and process to update GHG protocol standards. The Scope 2 guidance is one of several GHG protocol publications detailing how organizations account for the report their value chain GHG emissions. Other documents include the Corporate Accounting and Reporting Standard, Corporate Value Chain Scope 3 Standard, and Scope 3 Calculation Guidance. A large volume of feedback suggested that the GHG protocol should consolidate its requirements across all those documents, i.e. Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 into a single document to streamline accounting and reporting, a regular process of updating the standard to keep up with a rapid evolving GHG management and climate action ecosystem was also suggested, creating alignment with voluntary and regulatory climate disclosure programs. Respondents strongly urged the GHG protocol to coordinate closely with voluntary target and goal-setting programs such as the Science-Based Target Initiative (SBTI) and regulatory developments which mandate climate-related disclosures, including the EU Corporation Sustainability Reporting Directive (CSRD), the US SEX proposed rule on standards developed by the International Finance Report Standard (IFIR), reviewing the objectives of Scope 2 reporting. Many respondents provide feedback on the appropriateness of the current objectives if the objectives have been achieved in practice and whether or how they should be amended going forward to align with the GG protocol involving purpose and role facilitating voluntary target setting programs as well as emerging climate disclosure mandates. Updating dual reporting requirements, there was significant feedback representing multiple perspectives on the usefulness, appropriateness, implementation, and overall results of the dual reporting requirement. Some respondents recommended maintaining dual reporting with various modifications to the local-based and/or market-based method, while other respondents suggested that only one of the two methods should be required. Support for the location-based approach emphasized that it appropriately represents emissions throughout the reporting entity's value chain. Supporting for the market-based approach emphasized that it is necessary to account for purchase energy attribute claims, which may differ from the actual energy flow in the grid. Many respondents propose improvements to the local and/or market-based methods. Some favored more specific requirements. Others preferred maintaining flexibility while supporting interpretation or adaptation by other emission reporting or target setting programs, requiring or encouraging granular time and location criteria. Respondents wanting more specific requirements frequently refers to studies that demonstrate the importance of using detailed data to ensure any emission reduction claimed in the GG inventory are closely correlate with actual atmospheric GG emission reductions. For example, some emphasize the need to consider the specific emission intensity of the electrical grid on the hourly basis when determining Scope 2 emissions. These responses also advocate that clean energy purchases should only be accounted for when carbon-free resources is on the same grid as a facility claiming to use power therefore from. These measures were seen as essential for accurately tracking the process of emission reduction. However, some respondents expressed concerns about the difficulties and practicality of implementing these specific requirements. For example, some said that it might make it more difficult for organizations to participate in clean energy purchasing programs due to the challenge of collecting hourly electricity consumption data, limited procurement options to buy clean energy trucks on an hourly basis, and uncertainty identifying whether clean energy resources could actually provide electricity to facilitate these that claim to be consuming the energy, allowing flexibility in time and location criteria. Those in favor of flexible interpretations stressed the need for accounting standards and clean energy procurement opportunities that are feasible to implement for organizations of all sizes, sophistication levels, and global regions. They generally supported maintaining the current flexibility in the Scope 2 guidance, which allows the use of emission factors averaged over a year instead of shorter intervals. Additionally, they advocate for the continued ability to purchase energy attribute certificates like guarantee origins or renewable energy certificates from larger regions with common ESC trading markets rather than being limited to grid boundaries that require some degree of physical electricity delivery. However, many comments also pointed out that the flexibility inherent to the current approach often leads to less than ideal outcomes. They expressed concern that under the current framework, flexibility allows purchases of claims that are physically disconnected from underlying electricity consumption, and the reported reduction in the organization's emission inventory may not actually correspond to overall reductions in the atmosphere. Calling for new emission impact-based reporting approach, some comments proposed a change from or addition to current inventory accounting method to a new approach for demonstrating the emission reduction effects of buying clean energy. This approach, similar to projected-based accounting, involved accounting from the emission reductions resulting from replacing carbon-intensive power plants with clean energy sources. It also considers load management strategies that optimize increased energy consumption at times when clean energy is abundant and reduced energy consumption at time when the grid relies on more carbon-intense resources. Most of these comments suggested calculating this information using marginal emission factors instead of average grid emission factors because marginal rates reflect how emission incrementally change in response to new clean energy resources or a change in demand for energy. Respondent posited that this method would provide stronger incentives for investing in grids that have the greatest potential for reducing carbon emissions compared to current market and location-based inventory accounting methods. However, concerns were raised about the compatibility of this method with existing inventory methodologies and science-based net zero target, as well as practical implementation, including issues with data accessibility and technical limitations requiring additional criteria. The topic of additionality where interaction must result in emissions reduction beyond what would have occurred in the absence of the reduction was discussed in the context of both market-based accounting as well as under any new impact-based methodology. Support from introducing an additionality requirement emphasized its necessity to ensure inventory emission reduction claims more clearly align with atmospheric emission reductions. Feedbacks in supporting of maintaining the current practice emphasize the concept of additionality is inappropriate to apply to the market-based method because the market-based method allocates energy usage rather than offsetting emissions. This response is also highlighted distinguishes between electricity usage claims from impact claims, suggesting additionality only be applied in impact-based claims, editing clarification and new guidance. Respondents also provide various suggestions for additioning clarification and new guidance, including specific use case, new technologies, and data. Example include encouraging the GHG protocol's involvement in developing global emission factor databases, updated guidance for purchase steam, heat, and cooling clarification on transmission and distribution losses, clarifying overlaps between accounting for emissions in Scope 2 or Scope 3, Category 3, and creating guidance for specific use cases like electric vehicle charging and list asset and other activities. Next step, note between July 26th and September 8th, 2023, GHG protocol offered an opportunity for stakeholders who submit responses to the Scope 2 guidance survey to provide feedback on the draft Scope 2 survey summary report to ensure that perspectives were comprehensively and accurately representing the log of change made from the original published draft summary report is included at the end of this document. This summary report will support the development of specific work plans for Scope 2 update and related GHG protocol standards to be developed through technical working group and other committees as part of the standard development process. In addition, the GHG protocol secretariat will continue to solicit new information and review relevant new research studies on Scope 2 as they become available throughout the update process. The GHG Protocol Secretariat is also currently meeting with organizations that submitted a Scope 2 proposal for detailed discussion of their proposals. And the GHG Protocol has tentatively identified several common themes within the Scope 2 related proposal submitted, which reflects similar themes that emerge from the Scope 2 survey responses presented in the summary. The next phase of stakeholder engagement will include a summary of these proposals, The goal of this work to support widespread understanding of the proposal and GHG protocol accounting and reporting principles. The results of this session and this summary of survey responses will help inform the initial topic and deliberation for the Scope 2 technical working group. The next phase of stakeholders in the tandem with this process. The protocol is finalizing a new governance structure. The GHG protocol's update governance will provide overall strategic direction and oversight of the standards update process. Information about the standard update process and opportunities to participate will be shared with subscribers to the GHG protocol newsletter via email. If you'll be to receive the update, please subscribe to the GHG protocol newsletter here. That's all.